All right.
Shows it's recording.
Start.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks,
So January 17th, April 25th, June 20th, September 19th, November 21st. Any issues with those dates? All righty. We'll move forward with those dates. Next up is the selection of the chair and vice chair. I am happy to continue if you would want me, but I can't nominate myself. So I'll open up nominations for the chair for the law enforcement subcommittee. Sorry, for the board.
Chief Ticer, I make a motion to have Chief Solberg continue as chair of this AATA.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Brad. Second that. All in favor, please say aye, and I will abstain.
Aye.
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 All right, thank you. Next, we need to appoint a new vice chair, and I will take the opportunity to nominate Chief Ticer to fill in the role as vice chairman. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brad. If all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Mr. Chair, we'll need Chief Ticer to abstain from
Abstain. Ticer abstain, and thank you for the nomination, Chief.
Thank you. And thanks for volunteering.
You bet.
All right. Next, we need to go over the subcommittee assignments. So law enforcement subcommittee, I'm currently the chair, and then we have Chief Ticer, Sheriff Dedman, Brian Wright, and then Leslie Lemons on behalf of Rachel Mitchell. Anyone else want to get on that subcommittee? And if you don't want to speak up, always you can shoot Ann an email if you want to relay a message. So we're good with that one. Public awareness subcommittee, that was chaired by Robert Smith. We do need a new chair of the public awareness subcommittee. Currently we show Brian Wright, Susan Trask, and then Chief Ticer on the public awareness subcommittee. So we could take another person, and then we need someone to chair that. Any volunteers? That awkward silence.
It's my understanding that Brian Wright may have resigned his position. So if you need a body on that, even though I'm new, I'm happy to step in and help out.
Okay, we will add you to that. Do you want to take over the subcommittee, or does anyone else have any desire to lead that subcommittee? And maybe a little description of what that I haven't sat on that one. So the public awareness subcommittee, what they do.
Sure. Mr. Chair, members, the public awareness subcommittee, we don't meet on a regular basis, but if there's a new outreach or initiative or something, similar to the Watch Your Car, or when we instituted the VIN etching program all those years ago, we convened the public awareness subcommittee. So it's not a regular meeting. Now the law enforcement subcommittee reviews all the public awareness grants. So that's all taken care of through the law enforcement committee now. So, we certainly can meet more, and if they have any ideas to share with staff that we could implement. Am I missing anything, Jamie?
No, I think there's an opportunity to engage that subcommittee going forward. We have not used them very much at all, but I think there's always an opportunity to get other perspectives, that we could turn into initiatives going forward.
Chief, this is Bob Ticer. I'll chair that public awareness if you're good with that.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Chief Ticer. Next one is the administrative and finance subcommittee. I'm currently the chair of that, and the rest of my team is no longer here. So we could use one or two on that, and again, that's one that we don't really do a whole lot. Frank does all the work for us. But if he, that's not the one that does the grants. That's the law enforcement subcommittee, isn't it? And I'm on both, so I'm not sure which one's which when
Yeah.
we do
So,
the grants.
Mr. Chair, that is the one that we, at our November meeting, presented that we will be reviewing the new updated policies for the Auto Theft Authority. So we did have 2 volunteers.
That's right.
That day we had Chief Ticer, Bree Belkey, and Major Cecil had volunteered for DPS. So if those folks are still interested, I know Bree is not here today, although she RSVP'd. So something must have come up for her, but so that's kind of where we were as of November. And that we will be getting together in the next several weeks to review draft policies.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll add those names, and then if they want off, you can always ask to be on or off any of these committees anytime. So we're good with that committee then. Leonard?
Yeah, Chief Soderberg, I think that Major Cecil, now that he's moved to a different assignment, probably would not have that role, but I can assume that for him since he volunteered for it.
Perfect. Appreciate that. We'll swap your names out. And then next is the Vertical Prosecution Subcommittee. Leslie currently chairs that. And then we've got Deputy Chief James McFarland from MCSO on there as well. Is there anyone else that would like to join that subcommittee? Okay. As always, you can always add your name. Just let one of us know that you would like to join a committee, or if there's an issue you need to get off the committee, let us know. Do we need a motion to approve all those, or are we good?
Mr. Chair, I'll confirm with Lynette, but I believe those are just board appointments. The only action is for the chair and vice chair.
Okay. All right. I think we're good then. All right. Thank you. All right. Next up is approval of the minutes. So you should receive the minutes from November 15th, 2024. Any questions or discussion on those minutes? All right, hearing none, could I get a motion to approve the minutes from November 15th of 2024?
I'll do a motion to approve.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
Bill, thank you. Bill. On favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Now moving on. We're blessed to have Director McGuffin stay with us for a little while longer. He was supposed to be on the retirement beach, but he's agreed to stay with us for a little bit while we transition to new leadership. But with that, I'll turn it over to Director McGuffin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. Good morning. So as the chief mentioned, I was supposed to be retired as of January 3rd, but I have deferred my retirement because my departure leaves a couple positions that are fairly critical. One being the PIO for the agency, and the other, and when I say agency, DIFI as a whole, and then of course the ATA executive director. So we were fortunate that we hired a PIO like 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure if Carrie is on this call, but she will be doing the PIO work for the entire agency, but will be heavily engaged in AATA public information and outreach as well. So we certainly welcome Carrie to the team. And then kind of continuing on with some positions, I would like to welcome Major Jason Leonard to the board. He is taking the place of Damon Cecil, as he mentioned. And we also thank Major Cecil for the time that he spent on the board. We have a vacancy in the county attorney position from Pinal County with Kent Volkmer's departure. And we just wanted to let the kind of update the board that the governor's office was notified of this vacancy, and that is one of the governor's appointments. So she will have to make that appointment going forward. Staff continues to remind the governor's office of the vacancy to ensure that we can keep it at the front of their thoughts as much as we can. But this is a very difficult time of year with the legislative session. I would not expect that position gets filled anytime soon. The board that does that and those appointments, there's a whole lot of appointments going on right now, and it's just a difficult time to make some of these positions whole. And then as far as the AATA director process, just as an update, I have reviewed about 72 resumes for the position. I have 5 pending in my inbox, which I will get to today. At this point, we've identified 4 individuals that will be interviewed next Thursday, and Chief Solberg and Captain Axland joined myself and one other DIPI staff member on the interview panel. So I'm not sure, we'll come up with a name after next week, but that process continues on. So that kind of closes out the positions, unless anybody has any questions of me. And if not, I wanted to mention that the annual report was completed in late November and released in early December. So all board members should have received the report, and we're hopeful that each of you had a chance to review it and that you found some value in it. Once again, I want to acknowledge the months of work that goes into that report, and thank the entire AATA staff for their effort. If you haven't had a chance to review the report for whatever reason, and maybe the email got lost or something, it is on our website. So you can go to the DIPI website and it's there. Or if you need any help getting another copy of it, certainly Ann can help you with that. Kind of along the same lines, the January newsletter is close to completion now. We closed out December, and that's going to be one of the topics for the January newsletter, is those statistics. So we're hoping to send that out mid next week, and it will provide a recap of stolen vehicle data for calendar year 2024. It will have some information concerning a settlement of a class action lawsuit involving Kia Hyundai. It'll have highlights of 3 task force investigations and a welcome to our new board members. So there'll be a lot of content in that newsletter. And then kind of moving on to the ACT enhancements, which is something we seem to cover and don't make a lot of progress on. But we did, it is moving, and we're trying to enhance the ACT database. It's a little bit slow because we're dealing with an outside vendor that has to, that does the work for DPS. So we have to kind of fall into their schedule. And then there's a lot of administrative issues in just getting an IT project moving like that. But it is making progress. The most recent, and since the last we met, was we sent an interagency service agreement to DPS in the amount of $42,483.05. And when that contract is executed, those funds will be used to pay DPS's contracted vendor to make those enhancements. So kind of as a reminder, staff obtained board approval for those funds to fund those enhancements at the March 29th meeting. So we had kind of a blanket approval at that point, even though I'm not sure we knew exactly what the cost was at that point. But we have the funding for that. It's in our budget specific to that purpose. And the next steps will be for DPS to submit what we call a PIJ, a project investment justification. It's required to move the IT projects forward, and that gets submitted to ASSET, which is a state entity that provides that type of oversight on IT projects. So I'm hopeful that once some of these administrative steps get taken care of, that thing's actually going to happen fairly quickly, because I don't think the actual work involved with making those enhancements to the system is all that complex or all that lengthy. So then we talked a little bit about the policy and procedures project that we mentioned in November. Staff continues to work on deleting the obsolete policies, revising other policies, and consolidating AATA policies. We've found this to be a cumbersome process, but I think we are making progress on it. Ann and I meet as we're both available to make all of those adjustments within our policies. But it's going to streamline everything considerably. We're going to have far less policies than we once did. I expect that we will engage the subcommittee in February for review, with the request for policy approval coming to the full board at the April meeting. I don't think that there's any reason why we can't meet those timelines. And just a couple more things that I have. I'd like to share my screen and talk about just quickly some 2024 stats. Okay, so these are, I just have like 3 slides here. I'll just hit the highlights. One of the slides I absolutely just duplicated from the November meeting. So other than just in increasing the numbers as they reflect the end of year 24 stats. But so we'll do the theft number comparison, 2023, 2024. 2023 is on top. So in 2023, we had 20,006 thefts. I will point out that these statistics are from the ACT database. So as I mentioned frequently on this call, we have ACT, we can get immediate, very accurate data coming out of ACT. It is our direct source is ACIC. So if it's in that system, that's what we're seeing. So we have a high degree of confidence in our ACT data, but we often report data from NICB, the National Insurance Crime Bureau. And we do that, even though the numbers are slightly different, we do that because NICB has the national picture, and they can look at all 50 states, DC, and Puerto Rico. And so we find value in the fact that they place Arizona consistently using their numbers along with those other, national, with that national look. So we can't draw numbers on a national level. We can only draw, ACT can only draw for Arizona. So it's NICB information is valuable. But right now, since we really want to see where we ended up at the end of 2024, we're very happy to use the ACT data. So 2024, we ended up with 17,010 stolens. Then here's just kind of a little recap of those inside those numbers. It's that number reflects almost 3,000 fewer thefts, which equals the 15% reduction that we have been talking about for months. That's what we saw, that trend, and that's how we ended up. One interesting fact is that the lowest number we have ever seen in the last 3 or 4 decades since we've been counting total thefts in Arizona was 16,785, and that occurred in 2015. And that's, again, a national source. We had no ACT data at that point. I believe that when we see the NICB numbers, I think it's probably going to be less than that number. I feel like we're going to be really close to having a number that is our all-time low. So that's really exciting. And then just as a matter of reference, the highest number we ever saw was in 2002, and we were right around 57,000 stolens at that time. So a lot of progress when it comes to the decrease in stolen vehicles. Arizona is down almost 22% in the last 2 years. That's according to ACT data. I think you're going to see that the NICB information even puts it down lower than that. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on around the country as far as decreases. I know Colorado is also showing significant double-digit decreases as well. And they have shown the same kind of trend that we have over the last 2 years. They've shown some nice decreases. They had a lot of stolens to give though, because they were number 2 in the nation when it came to the rate of theft. So a lot of thefts going on, but they have made a priority of it up there. The governor has, and they're seeing the benefits of that. We expect the NICB data probably March or April. We'll be happy to see where we have fallen and where everybody else is in relation to that. So, all right. And then here's the stolen vehicle recovery information. One thing I want to mention back on that last slide is when we see that that low number, the 17,000, when you look at and consider the population gain between 2015 and 2024 in Arizona, our rate of theft, the number of thefts per 100,000 people, is going to be significantly lower. So whether we hit that all-time low number or not, I think we are going to absolutely hit an all-time low number for the rate of theft occurring in Arizona for 2024. So that's really good news. And then the stolen vehicle recovery information, 2023, we had 14,210 recovered. That was 71% of our stolens. And the way we generally always group this together is we want to know how many vehicles were stolen in 2023 and how many of those vehicles were recovered. So if a vehicle was stolen in 2022 but recovered in 2023, we're careful not to count that, because you have to you start needing to increase that pool of vehicles. So we can look at any of those stats if the board ever has an interest in that, looking at like a 5-year recovery rate, things like that. We can easily do that for the data that we have kind of in stock in particular. But and as we continue on now with the ACT data, we're going to have a very robust system of information to draw from. But 71% in 2023. Right now, as these numbers are fresh, we are at 69%. I think those numbers are extremely close because the vehicles that were stolen, some of those vehicles stolen in November and December of 2024 have not been recovered yet, but they will be, we know. So those numbers, I think, are, then the differences in those are pretty negligible. We still have about 60% of our vehicles are recovered within the first 30 days of being stolen. And the latest information on the average days to recovery is 16 in Arizona. And this is the slide that I showed you last time. I've done very little work on this slide, except to show the new totals of vehicles. So when we presented, when this slide was presented in November, the list of vehicles for the top 10 stolens was exactly the same. None of these vehicles have changed their position on the list. Chevy Silverado has been number 1 the last few years, historically really high, and has outpaced everything else. So we continue to see a lot of Silverados being stolen, and of course with the Kias and Hyundais, we're seeing still seeing them overrepresented on this list. But four pickups, models of pickups are on our list. I mentioned this last time. Still a high theft item, a high theft model. And then the Kia Hyundais, 4 of those on the list. We expect we're going to see those on our list for years to come. And then the GMC Savannah, We know that most of these are U-Hauls. They're really heavily represented on our list. They may not all, certainly not all belong to U-Haul, but probably heavily rental vehicle represented here. And I'd ask Mary to pull the recovery rate, because last time it was 99%, which was astoundingly high to recover those, and it's still 99%. So we're getting them all back, which is a good thing. It's a shame that they are still counting against our stolen totals, because it's probably in most cases a failure to return. But you can't necessarily blame U-Haul for putting that vehicle in the system in an attempt to get it back. So does anyone have any question regarding 2024 stats that I can answer or research? Okay. All right. Well, then
Mr. Chair, Jamie, with the when the recoveries are those are recoveries all over the place, right? Not just Arizona. So if they're picked up in California or New Mexico, that we get those numbers when we recover.
Yeah, Chief Ticer, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly correct. Wherever, if it's an Arizona stolen, it does not matter where it was recovered. When it hits back into the system as being recovered, we have that. Yes, we have that information and we count it.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. And then my last item is a request for approval of an interagency service agreement. So we're halfway through the fiscal year, and this will be the first of 2 ISAs that we expect to enter into with DPS. So for our new members on the call, the ATA does not have an appropriation to fund task force vehicles and to build those vehicles. So we use, last few years, we've utilized a strategy to fund this really important component, because we've, a few years ago, we had a situation where the DPS fleet for the task force was in really poor condition, and we were able to kind of devise a way to fund that is separate from grant funding and does not require an appropriation. It's worked for us, and we're hoping that we can continue using this strategy. So the funding comes from the ATA operations budget, and we get it over to DPS in the form of an ISA, which is an interagency service agreement. It's basically just a contract. We transfer that funding to DPS and specify that it can only be used for the purpose of vehicle purchase, emergency equipment purchase like computers, radios, anything that belongs in the vehicle lighting systems, and to build those vehicles. So DPS often uses an outside vendor to actually install all of those components into the vehicle. So this ISA, because we do it in January, will once again allow the task force to purchase vehicles early in the year and then to build them whenever they can, when they can put those vehicles into a rotation. So I mentioned what is included in those, where it's very specific. They can't use that money for anything other than the vehicles, the equipment, and the build. So following the same plan as previous years, the ATA staff recommends and is requesting approval to move forward with an ISA with DPS in the amount of $200,000.
All right, thank you. Can we get a motion to approve that ISA for 200,000?
Motion.
Oh, hold on one second. Sorry, Leonard. I forget your major or captain. I forgot your rank.
Yeah, this is Major Leonard with DPS. I recuse because DPS stands to gain financially from this action item.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Any other comments or discussions? Back to nominations. I forget who was, or sorry, motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Brad. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second. I think Bill got that one. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. The ayes have it. Thank you, Director McGuffin. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, members, that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is the Frank with the financial update.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Before I begin discussing the financials of ATA, I do want to welcome Eric Taylor from Heinfeldt and Meach. The Auto Theft Authority was required at the end of FY24 to do its 2-year audit. So Heinfeldt and Meach, who has been doing the audits for ATA for many years, did come in and complete the audit, and Eric is here to share with the board the findings of that report. Eric, are you still on?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for having me. We do perform the audit every 2 years, but it's only for a 1-year audit. It's not a 2-year span. And I was asked by Mr. Ceballos to go over the findings, which is very easy. The district, again, had no findings, no financial statement findings. The district, or the authority, I keep calling it district. I work with a lot of school districts. I apologize. The authority received, we provided the authority with an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is the best opinion that you can receive. And that opinion, like I said, is the best opinion we can receive. The district's in good financial position. They were in a little better position before the state swept a lot of cash from the authority. So, but still, it's in good financial position, and the audit went very well. The staff was very helpful, provided all the necessary information in a timely manner. And overall, it was just a great audit as usual. Every 2 years it is. So with that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Well, Eric, it doesn't sound like anybody has any questions. Thank you so much for coming and presenting the findings of the report to the board today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, do we need to accept the findings?
Yeah, and that's a question I can't answer. I don't remember. Do we need to accept the findings?
Mr. Chair, members, I don't believe that we've ever had that as an action item.
Okay.
To accept the board audit. If Lynette has anything different, maybe she can let us know.
Yeah, I'm not thinking there's anything that absolutely needs a vote on this. And it's right now it's just put on the agenda for a presentation. So I would suggest that we just leave it with that.
Sounds good. Thanks. Frank, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you, Eric.
I do want to say one thing about the audit that was completed. It is not just myself that does a lot of the financials. There is the Administrative Services Division that participates and assists on making sure bills are paid. And Mary Jordan especially is the one that is helping having the checks and balances. So we have those controls in place. So it's very much appreciated for all the DIFI staff. So I just wanted to add that to the board. Now, moving forward to our financials, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with all of you. Okay, so as of January 1st, the fund balance for ATA is $3,689,688. We have received in revenue about $3,788,170. Our investment income is a little bit low because of the cash that is on hand. We're averaging about $13,000 a month in investment income compared to what we were averaging, I think before was close to $40,000 a month. So it's taken a little bit of a hit. The ACT support agreement, it shows that we have available $125,862. That's because right after January 1st, we were able to finish paying the support agreement. So that number is going to go down, and I'll talk about how we're going to spend the remainder of those funds. But so moving forward with the appropriation, $175,468 has been spent, which leaves us about $533,632 available. And in the expenditure plan, I'll show you how we're going to spend some of that money. Local grants, we have spent $681,047, leaving us with $707,854 available. We are right in the midst of paying third quarter vertical prosecution grants. Right now, we're waiting for all third quarter, all second quarter financials to come in to see if any adjustments need to be made. But that's where we're at with the local grants. And then the task force, there shows right now that there was 2,226,300 spent with the same available, because we're going right into third quarter. So these numbers have changed since then. So let me go ahead and share my expenditure plan. That's not expenditure. That's fine. Also, just so the board is aware, we are in the assessment period. So we are collecting funds from the insurance company. It is usually slow the very first couple of weeks of the beginning of a new year. So the assessments is trickling in as we speak. So by the time we meet again, we will complete the 24B assessment period. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here because it is a little hard to see. So Director McGovern, I'm going to bring attention to a couple areas. Director McGovern brought that the ISA for the ACTS enhancement, he has it about 40+ thousand. I have it at 45 as a placeholder because just in case something does change or we need to add anything, we have some room to play. The 200,000 to DPS and the ISA that was just approved, excuse me. And then I have an additional 135,000 as a placeholder that could go to DPS if needed to help with vehicle purchases or build up later on. But everything else is pretty much consistent on what we've been spending in the last couple of months. We are projected to pay the invoice to Heinfeld Leach for the audit before the end of January. But everything else is right in line with the expenditure plans that we have had in the past. So any questions on the expenditure plan at this time? Okay, hearing none, Mr. Chairman, I do need a motion to approve the expenditure plan as I have shared it.
All right, thank you. If we get a motion to approve the expenditure plan as presented by Frank.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Bill. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Brad. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, back to you, Frank.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that concludes my report. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Ann, public awareness and grant programs.
All right, Mr. Chair, members, just a quick update on grants. As Frank mentioned, we've got the second quarter vertical prosecution grants, financial reports coming in. Staff will review those and determine if there's any overages and possibly use those for our annual end of fiscal year law enforcement prevention and training grants. Those will open up by March for review at the April and June board meetings. The fiscal year 26 task force and vertical prosecution grants, those will be opening up in the spring as well. Those will be reviewed at the June 20th board meeting. And we'll have law enforcement subcommittee reviews prior to both of those meetings. So the next round of grant contract compliance reviews are soon to be underway, and those are for Maricopa and Mojave counties. And those will be reviewing our fiscal year 25 Q1 and Q2 quarters for those. And we'll present those at the April meeting. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now and just show you some of the campaigns that staff have been working on since our last board meeting. All right, you see my screen?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, great.
it's in smaller mode, but we see it.
Can you see it? Okay, let's
Yeah.
see. All right, so we had, obviously, since our last board meeting, we had several holiday theft prevention campaigns. I want to thank Tyler Danner for her creative expertise and her hard work in putting together these campaigns. A lot of stuff, as we all know, folks are distracted and busy during the holidays, so just some quick reminders to lock their vehicles, remove valuables. With the New Year's, we also have some New Year's resolutions reminding folks to lock their vehicle and practice smart theft prevention. We had several other campaign or slides that went along with that. So as I mentioned, Tyler did a great job. As Jamie mentioned, we distribute our 2024 annual report. So if you all did not receive, you can shoot me off an email and I make sure that you're on my distribution list, or you can view that on our website. We've had several public outreach events since our last board meeting. December 13th, the Vehicle Theft Task Force, Yuma Police Department, Hyundai, the Auto Theft Authority, and Target hosted a theft prevention event where they distributed free steering wheel locks. They're doing another such event today as we speak down in San Luis. Same concept, talking to folks about theft prevention, the Watch Your Car program, and distributing free steering wheel locks. I want to thank Detective Prieto with the task force. He's been spearheading all of these events and has been doing some great work in his community. So I want to give a shout out to him. Staff participated this past Wednesday, January 15th, in the Arizona Indian Tribes, Nations and Tribes Day at the state capitol. We were representing the Department of Insurance and Financial Institutions, but we also took the opportunity to distribute lots of our good auto theft prevention promotional items and literature. So we had a great turnout. All staff were there. It was a great day. Got to meet with a lot of folks. So let's see. All right. I believe that concludes my presentation, unless there are any questions.
All right, thank you, Ann.
Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing I wanted to add. With our newsletter coming up, one of the things that we're pushing out is the Kia Hyundai claim settlement information. There's a deadline coming up April 28th, 2025. So we're pushing that information out. We will also be putting together a campaign highlighting all of that information. I'll also work with my Crime Prevention Association folks and push information out. Whatever we put together, push out to them so they can get it out to their local communities. So
Thank you.
With that, that does conclude my report.
Thank you. Next up is Law Enforcement Subcommittee report. We've had no activity, so I have nothing to report. After that is the Public Awareness Subcommittee report. They have not met either. Vertical prosecution. And if you'd like to call on some of our prosecutors.
Sure. I know we've got Leslie Lemens here today. Or we had Leslie. Leslie, are you still with us? Yep, there she is.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Leslie Lemens on behalf of Rachel Mitchell from Maricopa County. Maricopa County reviewed 39 task force submittals during this reporting period. Of those submittals, or of the active vertical prosecution cases, 7 of those were sentenced. A couple of notable sentences were State v. Chad Crupper. He was charged and convicted of theft of means of transportation, selling dangerous drugs, and misconduct involving weapons, and he received a 7-year prison sentence that was prosecuted by DCA Rochelle Birch. Also, State v. Bryce Hermanson, Hermansen. He was prosecuted and convicted of 2 counts of theft of means of transportation in 2 different cases. Also received a 7-year prison term, and that was prosecuted by DCA Nashley Horn. And that is all from Maricopa County.
All right, Mr. Chair, I know we also have Karen Close here from La Paz County to provide a report.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize. I am sitting in for Shauna this morning and do not have a report from La Paz County, other than I know that our prosecutor who is designated to auto theft, Tom Dorsey, is working those cases. And I know he is current on all of his charging from the task force and moving forward with his cases. I know he's had some successful resolutions. I just don't have the details of those. So I apologize And again, apologize to Leslie for stepping on her earlier with regard to Rachel Mitchell, those Rachels. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Karen. I know we also have Gina Godby here from Pinal County Attorney's Office. If she's still with us, she was having some connection problems, I think.
Yeah, I saw she disconnected.
All right. So maybe she'll pop back up. I think that concludes. I think that involves everyone that we have.
All right, thank you. Next up will be the Arizona Vehicle Theft Task Force report. I believe Sergeant Kramer will be giving us a report today.
Yes, sir. Yes, stepping in for Captain Excellent. Good morning, Chairman, member of boards. I just got this on kind of reviewing it with you guys. So the following of the stolen vehicle, the drug seizures and arrests through November 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. The task force recovered 292 stolen vehicles in that time frame, valued at approximately $6,833,516, and that included 46 arrests. 8 of those 46 arrests had drug charges as well. The task force seized approximately 31 grams of methamphetamine, 27 grams of fentanyl, and a small amount of illegal pharmaceuticals. The task force served 5 residential and business structure search warrants during that time frame and 3 electronic search warrants. Task force had 969 other agency assists during that time frame as well, and seized 3 weapons, one of which was stolen. For staffing during that time, the task force did lose a member through the Department of Insurance and Financial Institutions. He retired, so looking to fill that spot. And then Captain Axon had 2 cases that he kind of wanted to present during that time frame. So the first was the task force detectives served a residential search warrant to recover stolen trailer and inspect approximately 50 other vehicles on a property in Apache Junction. We were assisted by Apache Junction PD and Queen Creek SWAT. It was a 3.5 acre parcel. Detectives recovered 2 stolen vehicles and 1 stolen trailer. 1 suspect was booked into Maricopa County Jail. The second is kind of the bigger one that we were working on. This was the one that made the news. So the Arizona Department of Public Safety Vehicle Theft Task Force, with the collaboration of Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, has dismantled a sophisticated vehicle theft operation responsible for theft of high-end vehicles across the Phoenix area. This successful operation, conducted through intensive investigation and surveillance, has led to the recovery of 23 stolen high-end trucks and cars with an estimated market value of $1,471,500. We arrested 5 suspects. They now face a combined total of over about 100 felony charges. The investigation began in September, went through November. When the VTF was notified of the theft of the 3 high-end trucks from North Phoenix, detectives swiftly located and recovered 2 of the vehicles. 1 was occupied. The other 2 had suspects in them and led in a small pursuit. Following this recovery on October 2nd, VTF detectives were alerted by MCSO. Another pair of high-end trucks were stolen. This one is probably the ones you guys saw in the media where the suspect was held with an AK-47 in the front. It was holding on the front door. Once we got that, we took over that investigation as part of ours with MCSO. Taking lead on that case, VTTF detectives, with MCSO's assistance, identified the operation and coordinated theft ring, employed modern technology to target high-end vehicles. As detectives conducted further surveillance, they identified key suspects that linked them to 2 different residents. During the investigation, they observed additional stolen trucks connected directly to this group. In that coordinated effort, detectives followed 2 main suspects driving a freshly stolen truck. When DPS troopers attempted a traffic stop, the suspects fled, driving recklessly through several cities, ended up in Phoenix, where they were arrested. They tried to evade officers by blending into a crowd. A stolen revolver was recovered at that scene. They tried to hide it in some furniture inside a party. Shortly afterwards, detectives apprehended another primary suspect, also in a stolen truck, after a brief pursuit with him. In total, detectives served search warrants at 2 separate locations, leading to the discovery of 4 additional stolen high-end vehicles. We're actually still looking for 2 others that we believe we located this week. So hopefully we'll get those recovered in the next few days. And then prosecution is still pending on that, but they're all still being held. That concludes the report for this, and I'm willing to answer any questions for you guys.
All right. Thank you, Sergeant Kramer. Good job on all that. Next up, we have, sorry, I flipped my page. The called the public, I believe, right? Yes, called to the public. Anyone from the public have any comments for the board of directors? All right, hearing none. Now I can flip the page. Any other reports on current events or upcoming issues? All right. Our next meeting will be April 25th at 10 a.m. If you have any conflicts, please try to find someone to sit in for you, or let Ann know. Either way. With that, I'll make a motion to dismiss. Or can I get a motion to dismiss?
Motion.
Thank you, Brad. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Bill. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now have a good weekend. Take care.
Thank
Good job, everybody.
Thank you all.